Most impressive.
As the Extreme channel is pushing towards 50,000 subscribers, these are just a few of the statues we are giving away on the journey there. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Welcome to the Extreme channel. My name is Mr. X. If you're here for the first time, thank you. We're all about Extreme collectibles. I love Star Wars. Despite the fact that I recently sold off almost every single Star Wars collectible I have. Now the problem is when you're a big collector like myself, you always have different pieces coming into the collection. Sometimes they take years to come. That is the case with this giant, first ever to my knowledge, 1/3 scale Darth Vader statue. So 1/3 scale means that it's 3 times smaller than a real life version. There's tons of 1/4 scale Darth Vader options out there. I've owned quite a few. But this 1/3 scale, which for the record was also available in 1/4 scale, we'll talk more about that later, is specifically from ANH, or A New Hope, Episode 4, the movie that started it all, and for my generation, was an absolute masterpiece, and to this day, still is. For many reasons. One, it gave us Darth Vader, who in my opinion, is arguably one of the top 3 villains ever created. And you could argue that he's not really a villain, because in the end, spoiler alert, he does turn good. And he originally was good, not a good actor, because let's face it, Hayden Christensen did not do Anakin Skywalker justice. Although, have you ever seen Life as a House with Hayden Christensen? I thought he did really well in that. So anyway, just going on a rant here. But anyway, we're going to review this statue today. It has so many awesome display options. I think he actually came with like 10 different arms. So that means he could force choke 10 different people at the same time. You know, and as much as my generation loved Darth Vader growing up, what really got us excited is when we finally saw the true power of Darth Vader in Rogue One, and most recently in the Kenobi series. You know, I wasn't a huge fan of the Kenobi series. It was entertaining. I liked it. I loved how they showed how evil he truly was. I mean, he just killed people. He did not care. Another spoiler alert. But anyway, we're going to review the statue. There's so many amazing things about this, and I'm going to say this right now before we start the review. Best Darth Vader statue made. So the one thing that I think it doesn't have going for it, it is a museum pose, but we'll talk all about that. And I think the best way to kick off this review is talking about the pose in concept. So concept is, what does the statue represent? Is it accurate? Is it cool? Does it tell a story? And this one absolutely does on so many different levels. And like I said, there's a number of switch out options we're going to talk about during design, but they don't really change the concept too dramatically. So here on the base is a similar base to what you see in many Star Wars pieces. It's insinuating it's some type of star bridge or spaceship bridge. And that is very cool because a lot of the scenes, or I should say almost all the scenes from A New Hope, he is actually on some type of ship. Whether it's Princess Leia's ship where he's first introduced, or one of the Empire ships later, and this represents that well. And I don't know if it's supposed to be specific to a certain ship or not, because don't get me wrong, I love Star Wars, but I am not fanatical. So as we go through this review, there's probably some nuances or very specifics. So I don't know who Darth Vader's father's brother's cousin's former roommate is. And when you get that shit wrong, Star Wars fanatics flip the fuck out. Listen, you can be a fan without knowing that on Darth Vader's helmet, there has to be 12 nodules between the bridge of his nose and the top of his eyes. But anyway, so we see the base here. It looks absolutely fantastic. And he is standing in a museum pose. I'm normally not a fan of museum poses. That means he's kind of posing for a picture. There's not a lot of action or anything dynamic going on. But with Darth Vader, that suits him well because the majority of A New Hope, he was in a museum pose, other than when he was sitting in his tiny little spaceship in the end, which was really weird to me. However, he's in a museum pose. Here I have him holding a saber. That's classic Darth Vader, although he didn't use it as much as we wanted him to in the original movies. It got better and better as it went on, but even phenomenal down the road. You see everything lit up. He has some light up features we're going to look at, all the devices that are keeping him alive, because keep in mind, he's more machine than man now. Quote from Obi-Wan Kenobi. See Star Wars fanatics, I did know that. And what I really love about this, and you're going to find, is the creator of this is a Star Wars fanatic, but he's a cool Star Wars fanatic, not like some of you losers. But I'm just kidding. Not with you. But he really has accuracy on every part of this. So you're going to see some things that's like, that looks a little bit off. It's accurate to the screen because you got to remember, this movie was made on low budget in the 1970s. So from his helmet all the way down to the tip of his toes, he He was all about accuracy. By the way, if you're taking all my jokes seriously, go tell your mom upstairs. She'll make you a sandwich and calm you down. But concept is fantastic. I think it shows the power of Vader. He's intimidating just standing there. That's why we loved him so much, let's be honest. First, his look. Then, of course, James Earl Jones's voice. And then we found out he could do the crazy stuff like force choke. And then a laser sword. And he truly is a character that just gets cooler and cooler decade after decade. I mean, he's been around for almost 50 years now. But with that, I give the concept a 5 out of 5, despite the fact that I'm a little bit against museum poses. And one of the reasons I give it a 5 out of 5 is because the design is pretty damn cool. There's so many different display options. A lot of them I will never use, but it's nice to have. And they're all from A New Hope, which I really like. They specifically didn't do any design options that you would see in other movies, which I know a lot of other creators, like I used to own this Hot Toys one, it had different design poses from different movies. But before we show all those options, here's the unboxing and assembly. One box that was pretty torn up, a little bit of a breakage we're going to talk about. The standard foam, they don't usually do art boxes with custom pieces like this, so it was 2 layers. Here's the first layer. As you can see, there are a ton of switch out options, mostly the arms, and we're going to go through all those. The second layer had Vader's body, the base, and again, some more of the switch out options as well as the capes. All right, so I said 1/3 scale, 3 times smaller than a real-life version. And I don't know what I'm going to pair them with because there are no other 1/3 scale Star Wars collectibles. 18.5 inches wide on the base. Vader himself, I'm guessing 36, 37, actually probably a little under 34 inches. And the deepest part is about 12 inches or so. So for a 1/3 scale piece, he is pretty presentable. Now, the difficult part about him is which display options are you going to use? So I'll show you a few different shots here. First, obviously, in his right hand, he has the lightsaber. And he has it faced down where it just comes out of the hilt. Now, if you don't want to display the lightsaber, which does have a light-up feature, mine is broken, so I already have a replacement on the way because the commissioner takes care of his customers. There's actually a switch-out option here where you can display the lightsaber before it comes out. I think that's a neat option.
At last. The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
His left arm can be draped all the way to the ground. Or there's an option where both of his hands are on his hips. Now keep in mind, all these options are interchangeable, so you could use one hand on one hip, one hand on the other. Like for example, here's another one, classic scene where we saw him a few times, where both of his hands are on his belt. Now the right hand, there's a number of other display options. First, we saw Vader be a badass in the boardroom, which is what I like to do. And he used the chokehold. I absolutely love this one.
The ability to destroy a planet is insignificant next to the power of the Force.
But it's not the only chokehold that he has. He has one where his arm is also fully extended, which was also used. Then we have the one where he's lecturing his daughter.
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take it away!
Then there are other light-up features as well that do work. So for example, here's the base lit up and it's an AC adapter. And this AC adapter has a button to turn it on and off. It also powers the lightsaber, which again, I'm waiting on a replacement for. And then the packs on his chest, they both light up as well. And those are batteries with little switches behind them. A little bit of a pain, but not too bad to turn them on and off. And I love light up features, but I never use them. So I could really care less, but it's nice that they put them in there. So a lot of cool design options. Now the other thing I didn't talk about is his cape, both the front and back cape. So the robes, if you will, then the cape. First of all, they're mixed media, which means they're real fabric. They're not sculpted. But also with this, you can remove them. You don't have to display them. I'm going to display him. That's how he was most of the movie. If I was going to remove anything, it would be the robes in the front. But the cape, he had that on all the time. And there's a lot more power to his pose with that, in my opinion. So I think the design options are absolutely fantastic. I give it a 5 out of 5 on the design options. Now let's look at the paint and sculpt. And, you know, with Darth Vader, it's really hard because he's mostly black. Anytime you have a statue that's mostly black, but they knocked this out of the park. Another reason why I think it's the best Darth Vader statue. And again, as we go in, you're going to see some things that maybe not look right. This was accurate to the 1970s low-budget costume, with one tiny exception that we're going to talk about. Now, we're not going to look at any of the switch outs because regarding paint and sculpt, they all kind of tell the same story. I also left the light-up features off for these close-ups. But you can see, if you've never seen it, I actually have an Emperor throne chair back there. There's a review on it. You can actually check it out. But base is probably the weakest part, but it's still really good. And keep in mind, this is probably better than the actual sets they used back in the 1970s to insinuate a spaceship. The color looks fantastic. I think the shade of blue, as far as accuracy, is probably not off because, like I said, the creator of this is huge Star Wars buff. But I just don't like it as much as I think I would. It's a little too bright, but it contrasts the rest of the statue really well, which is very difficult when everything's black. I like that for the bottom and the floor, they did go with black, and it doesn't seem like it's too monotonous of a transition, although one would think it would have been. Regarding the fabric, so the cape here, the inside, more of a matte than kind of a shine on the outside here, and for all I know, I have it inside out, and some Star Wars fans are screaming. It did come wrinkled, but I do have a steamer, so that's going to be a pretty easy fix, but I wanted to get the review out for you guys and see how it comes out of the box. Now, Vader is done really well, and let's look at his costume first here. I love this. It is fully sculpted, yet it looks like fabric. That's very hard to do, especially when you have such monotone colors. And keep in mind, I have bright spotlights on this, so that does vary it up a little bit, but it looks absolutely amazing, very screen accurate. Everything from the material type it is, to the lines in the pants and the rest of the suit, how his gloves are on top and you almost see like little folds in between them. Really well done, really impressive. And like I said, the contrast in the blacks does really well. So you have the typical shine on, especially the shin guards on his boots. Like I said, this was really a ghetto costume when you think about it. Here's the lightsaber hilt, another option we really didn't talk about, but you can have it hanging. This is also removable as well in case you're displaying him with the lightsaber in that arm. Then the shoulder pads, you have a little bit of the gray mixed in, and I like how it's streaked on there. Does a nice contrast with the helmet, which we're going to look at in a second. I would love a life-size Darth Vader statue, and I know that Sideshow's made one. Now, a lot of time, the control panel on most Darth Vader statues, the paint's not very clean and it looks almost comical. Here, it looks really good, especially compared to what I've seen in the past. Looks like real circuitry, and again, it probably looks better than the original costume that they used in A New Hope back in the 1970s. So all that looks fantastic. Then we get to the portrait. One little inaccuracy that the factory did and the commissioner didn't know because it wasn't his direction is there's some gold on the nose bridge. Now, I didn't see the gold when I first unboxed it, but the second I put it under these bright spotlights, there's a small hint of gold, which that's a part that comes off. It takes about 5 minutes with turpentine, and I just haven't done it yet because I wanted to show you guys that. But I love how you can actually see his eyes behind there. It's kind of hard to tell. There's still some factory dust on this I need to dust off. But just every little detail of the helmet, incredibly accurate other than that little nose bridge. But the silver that's supposed to be there is below it. I think the shine on the helmet is perfect. They did a really nice job. And one thing you find, it's not 100% symmetrical, but again, it was like that in the movie. And you can't see it, but even the chain on his necklace is accurate to the movie as well, because gravity's just pulling it back. Such a cool piece. Really impressed with the paint and sculpt. All right. I love it. You know, and the nice thing is that little tint of gold that you only see in the spotlights, like I said, there's an easy method to get that off. The commissioner shared with us. Takes 5 minutes. So I think it's fantastic. I really like it. The base could have been a little bit better, and I don't know if I think it's the coat of paint to make it perfect. But I think the paint overall, especially Vader, I love how the colors contrast and it doesn't look gimmicky or toy. I think it's a 5 out of 5 on the paint for Vader. Sculpt's hard for me because I love it. I don't want to give it a 5 out of 5, but I think it's a 5 out of 5 on the sculpt too. I don't know why I don't want to give it. I think because it's not super complex maybe. And don't get me wrong, like we talked about, getting that uniform to look like fabric when it's really not is difficult. But yeah, so it is well deserving of a 5 out of 5. All right, now is he worth it? He's a fantastic statue, but he did cost a lot of money. Most 1/3 scale statues nowadays cost anywhere from really the low end, like $1,100, $1,200, all the way up to nowadays $5,000. But typical average is right about $1,500, and those are usually licensed pieces because, again, this is a custom. It's a private unlicensed commission. Disney didn't sign off on this. That's why they only made 35 of these. Very, very rare statue. So you'd expect a really, really high price tag, but for a 1/3 scale, it's really not. It's $1,395, plus depending where you're at in the world, you're going to pay a few $100s more in shipping. So really, it's priced with other 1/3 scale statues, and as you saw, you get an absolute ton for this. So I am a huge fan. I think that is a fantastic price. If this is the best Vader statue, and they only made 35, the value is through the roof. But there's tons of competition for Vader. So because of that, I think it's a 4 out of 5 on the value. Now, does this have the X factor? Is it a 5 out of 5 statue? Of course this is a 5 out of 5 statue. The best Darth Vader statue ever made, one of the best villains ever made, tons of different display options. I absolutely love it. So stoked I bought him, even though he doesn't go with anything in my collection anymore. The only other Star Wars piece I have is a life-size Han Solo in carbonate, and I do have a few other from this particular custom maker coming because I didn't know I was getting out of Star Wars. But I'll probably keep those even though they won't mix well together. What do you guys think? Am I dick riding this too much? Or is this the best Darth Vader statue made? I read every single comment. I want to hear your opinion, and you could win a free statue with that comment. We will be giving all of these statues away, plus additional ones at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. To win one of these statues, all you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, you've hit that bell notification, and then just drop a comment below. Every 5,000 subscriber milestone, we are going to do a random drawing and pick a random comment and give one of these statues away, plus some additional ones I'm not showing right now. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Please do me one favor for watching this. It took me a long time to film. All I want is a like. Hit that like button. And if you like stuff like this, hit that subscribe. Tons of cool videos. Check out some of these other ones. Till later. Take care.